Hello and welcome to the Washington Week Backstory, in which we talk about the story behind the story, this time about the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Peter Baker, you've been doing some reporting and looking back over this whole episode. It's so interesting to me that it's been 25 years.
Amazing.
And that it changed the world.
It changed the world. Nobody expected it to happen, even at the time. It was a long-held dream that suddenly almost surprised the world, and it was a sign of something bigger. It wasn't just about the wall. It wasn't just about Berlin. It was about all of Europe. Right? The Soviets decided not to hold on to their satellites. They withdrew 500,000 troops from the east, and suddenly it was a different world. But what's really interesting about it is that it's 25 years later, and we're now seeing some of the same issues replaying in a different way.
You know, the wall was such a symbol of the Cold War and of the real war for so many years. And when Kennedy said,
Ich bin ein Berliner.
And when Ronald Reagan talked about tearing down the wall.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
It became this iconic symbol. And then when it fell down, the first thought was, okay, we're done with that.
Right.
And we're back in the same kinds of tensions.
We really are. In effect, the wall has moved a little east now to a place called Ukraine, right? We've now divided Ukraine between east and west, really the smaller part of the east, where Russian troops and Russian separatists have sort of established this kind of quasi-autonomous, place, and the wall between east and west now runs along that line. It's not a real wall, it's a virtual wall, but these divisions that we thought were ending 25 years ago have sort of reared their head again, and what the West doesn't know what to do about that. It doesn't know how to handle it.
In fact, there doesn't seem to be any need anymore for a physical wall in order for the same tensions and the same consequences to be out there brewing.
No, that's absolutely right. Look, and if you're living in eastern Ukraine, you're living in a war zone. Even now with this ceasefire, the supposed ceasefire that's in place, there's still violence every day. The Russians haven't lived up to their agreement that they had made, and nobody's quite sure where it's going to go. It's probably going to be locked into a frozen conflict, much like Germany was locked into this division for 40 years. And the question is, where will Ukraine go?
If you're Vladimir Putin, or if you were Barack Obama or any American president, what is the advantage or the desire to erase that wall? If you're Vladimir Putin, maybe you want the wall. If you're the president, maybe it's not worth it trying to knock down a virtual wall,
right.
Or is it?
No, Vladimir Putin was a KGB officer in East Germany. That's where he was when this all happened, and he has spoken very vividly about remembering when the wall comes down and East Germany is collapsing into this new world. He calls Moscow, and Moscow doesn't return the call. You know, he felt abandoned. It was the end of something, and he later said that the end of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. So he saw what happened 25 years ago not as a great moment of freedom and liberation for a people, but in fact as the deterioration of a great empire. And a lot of what drives him today, I think, is this sense of resentment and bitterness about what happened 25 years ago.
I wonder if this means that no history, no matter how big it seems at the time, is permanent anymore.
No, I think that's right. That's a good point, exactly. Everything kind of comes around again. We go through cycles. We think the end of history, we called it, right, in the 90s. Right. Well, you know, we had prosperity and peace more or less in the 90s, and suddenly 9/11 happens. You know, I think we understand where we're going as a world, and suddenly we're in a Cold War conflict with Russia all over again. You know, it does remind us that we ought to take advantage of the moments when they do come, try to secure the advances that are made, because you never know how long they'll last.
That sounds like a good rule for life.
Yeah.
Peter Baker of the New York Times, thank you very much.
Thank you.